cartridge. I'm proud to say that my mic has finally arrived, and now I can start making some videos as well. Now recently, Tim Chatys has been doing some videos on bullet games on Chess Cube, and I'm proud to say that my rate is now over 2,000. Woohoo! And instead I'm going to cover one of Tim Chatys' games, which he played a couple of days ago for Ashton against Charlton. It was against an opponent called Edward Patten, who then A drew early in the season, so let's see if the same thing happens again. Tim was white and opened with e4, king's pawn opening, after which came the solid but dynamic French defence with e6. Then you see black wants to charge centre with d5, and it's also frees his dark squared bishop, but the only problem is that the light squared bishop becomes incarcerated. Next came d4, d5, and now white has a few options here. There is knight c3, knight d2, which is played in the game, e takes d5, and e5. Knight d2, which is the Tarrasch variation, which is, I'd say it's kind of designing against the winner, because if bishop b4, which is usually playing against knight c3, then this white can just kick it away with c3, so it's a wasted move. So black has to play other moves. There's interesting stuff like c5, which is like an IQP line, but here it shows d takes e4, knight takes e4, and now possibilities include stuff like knight f6 and bishop d7, but there's also bishop e7 which is played. Let's have a quick look at knight f6. Usually follows is bishop g5, bishop e7, knight takes f6 check, and now there's an interesting possibility of g takes f6, which looks quite dangerous if you're accepting double pawns and you can't really castle kingside, but you can also queenside, finish out your bishop on b7, use the g4 as an attack, and g2 often comes under serious pressure. Anyway, knight f3 in the game, knight f6, and now bishop d3 is usually common here. Knight g3 looks a little bit dubious. Bishop d3, knight takes e4, knight b7 is also possible, bishop takes e4, knight d7, castles c5. And in this position, black is quite passive, but it's also very solid, so it's quite good. Instead, after knight g3, black played c5, putting pressure on d4, and then white played a positional blunder in my opinion with bishop b5 check, because black can just block with bishop d7, and white's best now is to retreat the bishop to either e2, d3 or c4, because in this position white should not be trading light square bishops, because the main drawback with the French is that the light square bishop and black's is very, very bad. So, and white's light square bishop's good, and d3 usually puts pressure on h7, usually a lot of sacks on h7 in French. But swapping off is just terrible. Probably gives black the edge, because it's also helping him develop at the same time. I mean, why swap for good piece for a front bad piece? I mean, where's the logic? If you ever play against the French, do never ever swap the light square bishops off without like a tactical justification or something like that. But anyway, this is what happened. Taking the queen was also probably good. Castles, takes, knight takes, bishop takes is also good. Bishop e3, developing and attacking the knight. And I think black should maybe keep the queens on, because when he takes the queens off, white seems to get the open file and some deep file pressure first, but taking the queen is still good enough for equality, I'd say. And now, I think rook a8 is probably best in this position. Let's have a quick look at it. Bishop d4, rook fd8. I mean, black's got some good pressure down the C and D lines now, especially the C line, because white's c2 pawn's on free. Oh, it will be once the knight moves. And rook fe1. And this position is probably equal, I'd say. But instead, white plays, well, black played knight cd7. And now comes bishop g5. Rook ad8, rook fd8 was also good. White plays a passive looking move, rook d2, but the idea is to double rooks and contest the d line. And now black plays h6, kicking the bishop. Now bishop h4 would be a blunder because of g5 winning a piece for 2 pawns. bishop takes f6 is pretty bad as well, giving up a bishop in an open position. So white plays the paradoxically best move, bishop e3. Now, I would say white's probably threatening taking a7 because of b6 here, but plays a6 anyway. Rook fd1. I think white's starting to come into the game now. Maybe have a slight edge here. I don't think black should have took the queens off in my opinion. Personally, I think that was the mistake that led white slight edge again. Knight d5, which is threatening to take on e3, which not only have bishop against the knight, but also give white an IKP. The e3 pawn would be very weak and would give black the edge. And here I think white should play the tactical shot, knight f5, rather than the game that's played in the move knight f1. Because if knight f5, now the knight actually can't be taken, because it's poisoned because of e takes f5, rook takes d5, knight f6, and now once white swaps all the rooks off, he has to move knight d4, and the only way f5 pawn can be protected is with g6 and then h6 pawn hangs, so white will be a pawn up and therefore have very good winning chances. But instead, white played knight f1, which doesn't defend against the threat of knight takes e3, but it's not really so dangerous now, because now white doesn't get an IKP, and he's also got a quite strong queen side majority at the moment, which is mobile. Black takes anyway. Knight f6, so what's going to maybe come to e4 with tempo. White plays rook d3. A pair of rooks come off, and black also tries to get another pair of rooks off, because without the rooks I think black might have an edge with the bishop against the knight. I think it's more important than queen side pawn majority. Rook c3. Knight d5, which practically forces the exchange of knights, which leaves black to be the only bishop. Takes, rook takes. Also, it's also threatening mate on d1, so white has to be careful. Maybe he can still get checkmated in the endgame. King f1, bringing the king in and stopping against the mate threat. Bishop f6, attacking the rook and bringing the bishop into a better square with tempo. Rook c7. After the trade of prisoners which follows now, white has a pass c pawn, but it's only on c2, so it's hard to make good use of it at the moment. Black's bishop's very active. Bishop comes back to f6. You notice that white's knight hasn't really got any squares. Like, the only way it can really do is go to e1 and then to d3. Like, the black bishop's completely dominating it. But white's pass c pawn does restore the balance, and he also got a very active rook. a4, g6. It's a bit slow. c4, rook c5, and that was another trade of prisoners with rook b6, takes, check, king e2, rook a1. You see, rooks spawn behind passed pawns, not just when they're attacking, but also when they're defending as well. So the pawn's quite easy to stop, although it is an outside passed pawn, so black has to be very careful. And in fact, now comes check and a5. However, this allows black to draw this by a perpetual, by looks of things. So see, check, king e3, rook a3 check. Neither players actually agree to a draw because it practically is a forced draw, and I think black has to take it due to the outside passed pawn. So if I have a look, if king e4, then rook a4 check, and the king can't come up any further because of the black pawn on e6 and the bishop on f6. And there's obviously a trap where king 3, rook a3 check, king e2, and now if rook a2 is check, if white tries to avoid the draw with knight d2, he actually loses due to bishop g5, and then knight's going, so it's lost. Anyway, that was an interesting game. That shows that you shouldn't give up the you shouldn't trade the light square bishops in the Frenches from white's point of view without a very good reason, because then black will easily equalise, and as a result this game was drawn, but quite an interesting endgame. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you on YouTube. Feel free to leave any comments and thoughts, and thanks very much.